The reason some people don't understand how raw meat could be appetizing is the same reason others don't understand how cooked meat could be. It's all about what you're used to. If you don't give your body a chance to try something, how could it possibly realize that that's what it was missing? It doesn't work. How could it be appealing? The people who do try raw meat understand that yes, it actually is. And you start craving it and you realize, that's what I was missing. I used to eat cooked eggs all of my life and it was normal. Now that I drink raw eggs, I understand that I was doing it wrong. And actually the idea of eating cooked egg white is not only not appealing, it's actually off-putting now. No joke. And some people would say the same about raw egg clear. And when it comes to eating organs such as the liver, if it doesn't taste good, it's probably because the animal was fed something unnatural. If the organs are messed up, you will taste it, because the liver is supposed to be one of the best or the best tasting part of the animal. The same way we don't realize these things is the same way we don't realize when we are generally unhealthy. If we are always depressed, how are we supposed to realize that we are actually supposed to feel different? Again, it doesn't work.
Raw meat was a normal part of human diet for millennia, for a very, very long time. There's nothing wrong with it. And in fact, recipes of it remained in all the traditional cultures. Italians have got dishes like that, carpaccio, and some other recipes. French have this kind of dishes. Spanish have this kind of dishes, and Croatians and other cultures around the Mediterranean. There's nothing wrong with eating raw meat, as long as it's very fresh and it's clean and it hasn't been contaminated. And if you marinate it a little bit, it's more digestible because all the enzymes are still alive. They're not damaged by cooking because cooking destroys enzymes in the meat, and the meat is full of active enzymes. So it actually digests itself to quite a degree, the raw meat. So it's easier to digest. So for any person who is not producing enough digestive enzymes, for example, girls who come out of anorexia, they're not producing any enzymes. And people who come out of a fasting, of a prolonged fast, there are many people who try to fast on water or some other, or mono diets or something like that. Their production of digestive enzymes is usually down to zero. They're not producing digestive enzymes. It is a very good idea to start with a raw diet. And not only raw vegetables and fruit, as most fasting clinics recommend, but raw meat as well. Add raw meat, raw eggs to that, and raw dairy from the beginning, and the digestive enzymes will start working and start producing.
So people could do a sort of a diet, a GAPS diet, and add some raw meat into that and get those beneficial enzymes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very, very good. It's just culturally many people don't find it acceptable.
Yeah. So the chicken, it seems to be, it's funny because the chicken seems to be one of the animals that people are the most averse to eating raw because, I don't know, what do they say? The chicken is the conventional idea that chickens have more parasites, or what's the deal with people not wanting to eat raw chicken?
If the chicken is a free-ranging, healthy chicken, it's perfectly safe.
It's going to be okay.
Absolutely, perfectly safe. Because a chicken that is contaminated with salmonella will produce eggs which are contaminated by salmonella, and she will be ill. There will be symptoms. She'll have diarrhea, and her feathers will not be so good, and her eyes will not be so good. So it'll be clearly seen that the chicken is unhealthy. So when you're buying a chicken, make sure you know where you're buying it from.
Yeah, I think that's really important, people getting in touch with their food and where their food comes from. And
that does make sense. You go to the grocery store, you're seeing the packaged parts of the animal. How are you ever supposed to know what the animal looked like or where it came from?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I certainly wouldn't buy meat in a supermarket and then eat it raw. No.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely not.
No, you want a very different meat for eating raw.
When you know where your food comes from, you can feel good about eating it raw. And duck liver is one of my favorites.
That's amazing.
Wow.
It's so delicate, creamy.
Yeah.
It kind of melts.
Delicious.
Isn't it amazing?
It's delicious. It almost has a cheese-like quality in terms of that cultured fat flavor.
If humans would eat naturally, nobody would try to change anything. We go on these man-made diets, such as the vegan diet, because we feel like absolute shit. So we go from that to feeling like shit. There's a difference. It feels better. Especially if you stop smoking, which a lot of people do, and cut out all the junk food. It's not a surprise that you will feel better. But it has nothing in any way to do with being healthy. You believe that because you have no clue how it is to feel healthy. And the irony is that they eat all the carbohydrates and turn most of them into the thing that they are trying to avoid, which is saturated fat, because your cells are made out of it, and that's what your body wants, without any of the vitamins that come along with saturated fat. It's empty macronutrients. You're not getting vitamins A, D, F, K2, only from saturated fat. The trend is to go vegan, raw vegan, fruitarian. By that time, you're already mentally ill. Then liquidarian and breatharian. Of course, there is no such thing, but when you look into it, all the people are sick or dead. If you are malnourished and sick, you're doing the opposite of what you're supposed to in nature, all right? You're on your way to ascension if you're high every day, as if you were on drugs. Then you can know that you're doing everything completely right.
Another source of vitamin D is blood, because vitamin D is carried in the blood, and a lot of cultures eat blood sausage, and they put blood in their food. Sometimes they drink bowls of blood. All these feel-good chemicals that we're discovering, one of the most exciting discoveries of science today is that in our bodies we make exactly the same chemicals that are found in opium, marijuana, and even cocaine. We make these chemicals and we have receptors for these chemicals. The natural state of the human body is to be high all the time. It's true. And when they're made in our bodies, they're made in just the right amounts. The body can deal with them. You don't have all the after effects. And vitamin D is very much involved in this process. We want to have a lot of sympathy for people who get hooked on drugs. These are people whose emotional biochemistry is very malnourished, and they are simply trying to feel normal for at least a little bit of time, just trying to feel normal.
In order to get a daily amount of vitamin D for an adult in our modern world, we need to eat 20 egg yolks and a kilogram of butter daily. It's a large amount. Or we should eat brain of the animals. The brains of the animals are the richest source of vitamin D and the richest source of cholesterol. Just like our own brains. And because we're human beings evolved on this planet being naked most of our existence and living outdoors. Only recently we started covering ourselves with clothes and sitting indoors all the time and hiding from the sun. As other speakers were telling you, we are solidified light. Every time we sunbathe in the sun, we need the full spectrum of the sun, whether we see it or not. You are normalizing healing on the atomic level, on the molecular level in your body, on the level of tiny energies in every molecule, every atom.
You can easily tell if somebody is healthy if they are not high, euphoric, and don't perceive everything around them as absolutely incredible, then they are not healthy. And I understand how hard it may be for you to relate to what I'm saying, but that's how all humans were. The way we are now, depressed and closed-minded, is very new. Now that's normal, but back then you would have been abnormal. When vegans are addicted to sugar and all they can think about are foods with carbohydrates, most of them unnatural, that's an addiction. That's an illness. It's the opposite of how you're supposed to feel in nature. When I eat high meat, 20 to 30 minutes later, if I listen to music, it feels like something from the heavens. I can't even put it in words. Even the tiniest things which you may not be able to relate to make me want to cry. I'm not exaggerating. That's how life is for me, and I'm so thankful for this. Oh, wow.
And the first thing that happens to these teenagers is substance abuse, because they have a physical reason for this. I believe that we human beings are born to be happy. How do we reach the state of complete happiness? Complete joie de vivre, as French say. By our brain receiving a fountain of serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins, and other neurotransmitters. The brain uses these chemicals for various functions. The more we study them, the more we realize that they are actually produced in the digestive system. Almost 100% of serotonin is produced in the gut. About 75% of dopamine is produced in the gut. And then these substances are transported to the brain to be used. GAPS people have abnormal digestive system, unhealthy digestive system. It doesn't produce enough serotonin. It doesn't produce enough dopamine. Sometimes produces almost none. So these children were depressed. What is depression? Clinical depression. Not enough serotonin, not enough dopamine. That is what depression is. So these children grew up being depressed most of their life. Morphine, heroin, cannabis, sniffing glue, dangerous, reckless behaviors, unsafe sex, and other stressful things like that. They can produce that fountain for a few minutes for the brain. For the first time in their life, these children realize that's what life is about. And they want it again. And who can blame them? And that's how they become drug addicts. That is where addiction comes. In order to help these children, we need to heal their gut. That's where we have to start. Need to heal their gut. So it starts producing enough serotonin, enough dopamine, enough of other neurotransmitters. Only then this person will be able to come off the drugs. So that's a long, long healing period for these people usually. Every depressed person has to start from healing their gut. Problem is, when we ask them, many of them tell me, my gut is fine. No diarrhea, no constipation, no pain, no gas, nothing. I'm all right. But then when we do the test of their gut flora, we find that it's abnormal. If your child is fussy with food, your child has abnormal gut flora. It isn't normal for a child to be fussy with food. Why? Because these children have solid physiological reasons for this. More than 90% of children with learning disabilities have this problem. And they limit their food to sweet and starchy foods. They will eat bread, they will eat breakfast cereals, they will eat chocolates and sweet yogurts and banana maybe, but all the proper meals are excluded. What is happening in the child? The child is trapped in a vicious cycle of cravings and dependency for the very foods that harm them. When they eat bread, when they eat chocolates and biscuits and other sweet and starchy and potatoes, their pathogenic flora eats all that and converts it into many toxins. But these microbes are clever. They're very clever. Proportion of this toxicity they make in the form of endorphins, which when they come to the brain, they give a brain pleasure. So the brain wants more. These children are drug addicts. There's no other way of putting this. They are drug addicts. The drug is produced in their digestive system by their abnormal gut flora.
All the substances that, like what's in marijuana, opium, and even cocaine, are created by these good bacteria. So without good bacteria, we are dead, or at least very unhappy.
As far as drugs are concerned, especially weed, because it's quite popular, it's shipped in by the government, meaning that they want you to use it. Hollywood would want you to believe that it's shipped in by the cartel, mafia. Come on. Who actually believes that? And these plants are genetically modified. They are made in laboratories. That's what you will get when you go to Amsterdam. I know enough people who got mental illness such as schizophrenia from this shit. To get high, all you gotta do is eat naturally. That's the secret that they don't want you to understand. Do these plants have some benefits in nature? Sure, they may, even tobacco. But when you buy commercial cigarettes, they are full of sugar. That's why they are so harmful. Making high meat is pretty simple, but I'll show you anyway. Get a jar, glass, no plastic. Then, whatever meat you want. In this case, I'm going to use wheel liver. And what you do is cut it in pieces. And then fill half the jar. Or don't cut it in pieces. As you wish. But likely you will be eating it like that. And not all at once. So you may as well just cut it now. And then when it's full, what you do is put it in the fridge and you air it every 3 days or so, approximately. You can air it more often or not as often. Still some space. Yeah, tastes good. I'm gonna let this sit probably for at least 2 months before I start eating it, but we'll see. Approximately half. Now you shake it a little. No, just kidding. And that's it. You put it in the fridge.
One of the ways they prepared the fish was to dig a hole and put the fish in there and cover it over with dirt and let the fish ferment. So the fish got kind of rotten, and then they ate the fish. Now, why did they do that? Well, they noted that if they gave fresh fish to their dogs, the dogs could not pull the sleds all day long. But if they gave the semi-rotten fish to their dogs, the dogs had the stamina to pull the sleds all day long. So these people were great observers of nature, and they thought, well, if this can happen with the dogs, it's good for us too. And one of the things that these fermented fish gave them, because they became very soft, almost like ice cream, was calcium, because all the bones were in there. So they were eating the softened bones.
If you eat raw animal meat, then why is it hard to understand that others see us as raw animal meat? If you would be eating human, you wouldn't even realize it, because taste and texture-wise, we are not special. When other animals eat us, they seem to enjoy it. And according to cannibals, we don't taste any different than other animals. Meaning that we were created to taste good. Not like raw olives, for example, which are inedible. Nature gave us this tool, and that's all that the enlightened ones are doing when they eat babies. If they prolong their lives and get healthier by doing that, then they are using this possibility that nature gave them. Otherwise, we would be indigestible.